of this season brings us to drive his favourite Knockhill race circuit here in Scotland. After an eventful round one at Knockhill, with some drivers impressing and some with a point to prove, it makes for an exciting day here at round 2 of the 2014 Maxxis British Drift Championship. So, let's go drifting. So as the drivers and the crew get prepared, let's have a quick recap of round 1 at Knockhill.
Jake Spickett up nice and close. Both drivers looking tidy, but Matt using that V8 power to try and gain that advantage. Matt Tilliard heads into the gravel. A small collision there, but Martin Batty absolutely on the qualifying line. This is fantastic. Simon washing out slightly. Getting right on the qualifying line, Jack Shanahan takes first place.
Some great action from round 1 there, and someone who knows the track quite well is Fraser Stark. Fraser, do you get to use the track much?
Sometimes we've done some demonstration stuff with Stephen Donnelly in Waterworth a couple of weekends ago as well. It's quite good to get a wee feel for the track, but awesome day today. Couldn't have had much more fun. Qualified 11th out of the top 16, so I'm quite happy about that. Everybody's been spot on, run really well. Everybody in the pits will give you a hand if you're stuck. Couldn't be happier with it.
And who is your first battle against?
It's Richard from Lasser Tires, so that's quite a big ask for me, because I'm just like a one-man band.
And they're obviously a big team, aren't they?
Big team, big truck, big tyres, all that. So we'll see how we get on, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Top qualified pro, enjoying the conditions on the track?
Fantastic, it's unreal. Yesterday I was in the wet, it was slippy, but today it's spot on.
How much difference does it make when it's wet outside?
Different. It's like a skating ring, sort of, but the day's just bang on. Perfect, car's going well. Tyre pressures, everything's perfect. And I'm happy with the car. But drifting's a bit of fun, like. That's what I'm here to do. Have the crack, drive. Let's see how we'll get on now the rest of the day.
Started New Year's Eve last year. Drove for 6 months, broke car. Give this car to M&M Engineering, Marshall. He built it and I got it out about February this year. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Marshall. He was the one that made me get here really. He said to me, go for it. All I can say is thanks to Marshall for getting me here.
M&M as a whole is growing. Have you got big plans for the rest of the season as a team?
Well, we all mates just want to drive and have fun. We're only here for fun.
Thanks for that, Gary. So we're going to leave the drivers now to focus and get ready. And in the meantime, I'm going to pass you over to Matt, who's going to have a look at one of the cars that's at the forefront of modifications.
Thanks, Corin. As I said, we're going to do a little feature here of both driver and team. Standing here with Wesley Keane from WKD Imports. Absolutely awesome car that he's rebuilt this year. A little bit of a refresh. I'm going to ask him a few questions and get him to talk us through it.
Yeah, we've always tried to push boundaries with the car. It's been a lot of R&D involved with the guys in TDP, but yeah, we're getting on top of it now, and it seems to be working pretty well for us this weekend.
So talking of TDP, you've got the single locking rear hubs on?
Yeah, it's a new feature that they've designed last year. It's for quick changes during battles. You know, you need to get back out there as soon as possible and get back on track, and it certainly helps to speed up the process.
And I saying with the power and stuff these cars are running now, obviously you want to get them tyres changed as quickly as possible, but also you want to get the gears changing as quickly as possible. I see you've got some proper sort of dark magic in there with the gearbox set up now.
Some black magic going on. It's a sequential setup. It's pretty easy to change the gears. There's no clutching needed, and it's just straight in. There's no neutral. There's no missing gears. It's in every time, and it's a great feature in the car. I love it.
Excellent. And the car working well for you this year?
We always have teething problems, but we're getting on top of them all. But this weekend it's really flying and we're confident.
So thank you for that, Matt. Right, so we are here at Knockhill. Here are the qualifying positions for the semi-pro class. In number 1 place is Gary Mills, then it's Ryan Puffcarry, and then Dymax Engineering Stephen Donnelly, Matthew Denham in 4th, Tim Lockyer in 5th from Team M&M. and straight into the action with Jack Sims leading Kirsty Widrington from Team Falcon. They head down that extremely long entry into that first corner and over Seat curve with Jack Sims leading Kirsty, getting some good angle there in the E30 BMW with V8 engine stuck underneath that bonnet, and Kirsty straightening slightly there as they exit the final turn on this track here at Knockhill. So into the return run, Kirsty Widrington leads down into the first corner, initiates with the handbrake with Jack Sims hot on her heels. There he is, really close. You can see the V8 engine there sat with the bonnet missing off the front of that BMW. Kirsty using the handbrake to slow down around that final turn and out to the final clipping point, which is just on the blue and white boards. So we see a rearward shot there from Joe Ankers from Team Giorgio with Fraser Stark, a new driver in the championship here at Knockhill, a local driver to Knockhill, and Joe running very, very wide there. And it's a 2JZ tucked under the bonnet of the E30 Touring there, and Joe Ankers straightening again as they come out of the final section of the track. So this time Joe Ankers leads from Fraser Stark off the start line into the first corner at Seat Curve. Joe Ankers there right on the outside of the clipping point, not forgetting the judges expect both drivers to use the qualifying line. This line is explained to the drivers in the briefing. You'll see around the track there are markers at certain points of the track which the drivers are expected to hit. So Jack Sims took the win over Kirsty Widrington. He now goes against Gary Mills from Team M&M. Gary, the top qualifier as we saw earlier, using the inside line there, which is what the judges have asked for during the briefings. And you saw Jack Sims there with his back end right out to the clipping point as they exit this very difficult track here at Knockhill. So the return leg, Jack Sims will lead the way from Gary Mills. You'll see the cars go out to the outside. That's where the clipping point is. And you'll see Gary Mills there trying to close in on Jack Sims as they come down the hill. And he's getting really, really close as they enter the final turn. Gary Mills absolutely perfect on that clipping point, chasing Jack Sims out of the judge section. We move on to the final. Here we go then. Matt Stevenson from Slide Motorsport leading Joe Ankers as they enter Seat Kern. You can see the clipping point there on the inside of the corner. Joe Ankers so close to the back of that 350Z, but Joe Ankers there drops a wheel on the grass. That means an instant advantage, total advantage to Matt Stevenson, as the judges have said that off track at this event will result in a 0 run. So Joe Ankers then leads the way from Matt Stevenson. Nothing to lose here, enters that first corner. Matt nice and tight on that clipping point. Joe Ankers makes another huge mistake through that clipping zone on the inside of the corner and straightens through that final section and throws it onto the grass. Anyway, it turns out later on that Joe did in fact have gearbox problems with this car, and he actually threw the car off the track to avoid any collision with Matt Stevenson. So some great sportsmanship there from Joe, making sure he gets out of the way of Matt Stevenson, who was really absolutely on his back door. As you can see there, Joe throwing the car onto the grass to avoid any collision, and you can see there Joe being towed back up to the paddock. So Matt Stevenson from Slide Motorsport takes the win from Joe Ankers from Team Giorgio. New boy Jack Sims, the local boy, takes third place on the podium. Matt Stevenson from Slide Motorsport takes the win here at round 2 at Knockhill in the semi-pro class. And here are the championship standings. Matt Stevenson with a healthy lead from Gary Mills, Joe Ankers, and then Steve Donnelly in 4th.
How are you feeling right now?
Loving it, proper chuff with it, really happy. Yeah, sponsors come through, Glasser, competition clutch, done well for us.
We'll be seeing you again at round 3, won't we?
Hope for that podium again.
We move on to the pro class, and top qualifiers Keely Woods, Gary Mills and Matt Stevenson both eligible to qualify in this class after finishing in the top 4 of the semi-pro class at round 1, and then Marcin Mucha in 4th. So we go straight into battle with the V8 E30 BMW of Pete Green being chased down by Ollie Silcock as they enter Seat Curve for the first time, going over that curb, and Ollie Silcock making a mistake there as they ran down the hill. Pete Green, however, perfectly on line as the judges have asked, and Ollie again just a little bit straight going into Scotsman, the final turn of the track. The roles are reversed for the second run, and you can see the GBH Motorsport car of Ollie Silcock in the lead this time from Pete Green as they go over the hill at Seat Curve. And Ollie this time making a better run of it, but has Pete done enough in that first run with the mistakes made by Ollie? And Pete Green drops completely off track on that final section, which will give Ollie Silcock the win. Ollie Elmore, a semi-pro class driver, another driver in the top 4 at round 1, eligible to compete in this class here at round 2. And Ollie made a mistake. Ollie Silcock, that was, made a mistake on the entry. Ollie Elmore goes around that final turn and just about drops a wheel off track. We'll have to see what the judges have to say about that as we go into the second of the runs, the return run. Ollie Silcock leads the way from Ollie Elmore. Ollie Elmore tries to get up close and personal to Ollie Silcock as they go down the section of track, which is extremely downhill. It's very difficult to see, and Ollie Silcock makes a huge error on that final section and straightens going around the final turn. And Ollie Elmore takes the win. We see Marcin Mucha leading from Ollie Silcock into Seat Curve in the 2JZ powered Toyota Supra, and this car's got plenty of power, but can he put it to good use? You can see him there locking the back wheels up, using his handbrake to get round Scotsman's on the final section of the track. Right, a return run. Here we see a quick in-car shot there from Marcin Mucha chasing down Ollie Silcock as they enter the Seat Curve, and you can see Marcin trying to use that power and all the lock he's got on that Supra to catch up with Ollie Silcock through that final section. Ollie just, Marcin Mucha there drops a wheel on the dirt, and that gives the third place to Ollie Silcock. So on to the final. Ollie Elmore, the semi-pro driver in the pro final, and Martin Batty, like a scalded cat, away from the drag cone into that first corner. Martin has obviously fought his way through the battles to make his way to the final, and ultra consistent Martin Batty there, perfectly on the line, which the judges have asked for during the briefings, and showing a clean pair of heels there to Ollie Elmore, who's trying his utmost to keep up with the R35 engined S15. So this time Ollie Elmore leads the way from Martin Batty. They pass the drag cone, which you can see placed in the middle of the track, and Ollie Elmore initiates with a handbrake. Martin Batty, with his back bumper missing, comes down the hill and tries and closes up on the inside of Ollie Elmore through that final turn, using all the power of that R35 engine to get up close and reasonably personal. And you can see Ollie Elmore there tapping the roof of his car, giving a round of applause to his opponent. That's what drifting's all about, showing some respect. And you can see there Ollie Elmore taking second place. Martin Batty in the Drift Street Imports car takes the win, and Ollie Silcock took third place from Marcin Mucha. We see the drivers taking the spoils on the podium, big smiles all around. So the championship standings for the pro class, you will see Martin Batty's name is missing from the top. He will now be promoted to the Super Pro class for the remainder of the season, as will Ollie Silcock from semi-pro to pro class. After the break, we'll turn our attentions to the Super Pro class. Welcome back to the Maxxis British Drift Championship here in Scotland at Knockhill. The weather conditions are certainly different from qualifying. We had Wesley Keating topping the scoreboard from Martin Richards, Matt Carter and local boy David Waterworth. The weather conditions, as you can see, gradually getting worse, catching out some drivers at this infamous track at Knockhill. And you can see there Danny Isles in the Jap Speed Subaru making contact with David Waterworth after David made a mistake, and the team trying to get that car back up and running. As we go to Wesley Keating in the Nankan Tyre Drift Team leading Paul Cheshire in the G35 Falcon sponsored machine. Down, and Paul running exceptionally wide there round that corner as Wesley Keating keeps it tight onto the judging line as Paul smokes those tyres over the finish line through Scotsman. So an onboard shot there of Wesley Keating chasing Paul Cheshire as they go into Seat Curve then. Wesley running a slightly tighter line than Paul as they both run down the hill. Again, Paul using that slightly wider line. Wesley really up close and personal through Scotsman's and out of the judged area. So both drivers were deemed to have been equal on those two runs, and it went to a one more time. As you can see there, Paul made a mistake coming down the hill and ultimately spins the G35 going into Scotsman's corner, giving Wesley Keating the win. And as you can see, the weather conditions certainly deteriorated in this top 8 battle. We've got current champion Mike Marshall from Team M&M with Martin Batty, who we've seen win the Pro Class early on, and you can see the conditions extremely slippy as they come down the hill. Martin Batty is absolutely on it with that Street Drift Imports S15. Oh, and Mike Marshall spins the E36 Tourer as he comes around Scotsman, and a huge advantage there being given to Martin Batty. So the return run then as the drivers head down here. This is 3rd and 4th gear, almost 100 miles an hour in the dry. Martin Batty using all of the circuit and a little bit more there. The judges allowed the drivers to use the curb, but nothing more. And Mike Marshall trying to close up on the back of the S15, but Martin Batty keeping the line nice and clean and through and out of the end of the judge section. And Martin Batty moves on. And we move in car now with David Waterworth in the Viper-powered S15 against Martin Batty with the R35-powered S15. And you can see the drivers both very, very equal and both using that judge line. It's a very important part of drifting, as we will see all the way through these events throughout the year. So we go back to the alternative run where Martin Batty leads David Waterworth. You can see David with the Viper-powered S15 getting up nice and close as they enter Seat Curve. Another brilliant shot there in car of David sawing at the wheel, and you can see Martin leading David as they go into that final corner. Very, very close between the two drivers. This is going to be a difficult one. Was David deemed to be off track there? We do have a line judge watching that, and he did confirm that David did in fact have a wheel off track, giving the win to Martin. We are straight into the second of the semi-finals. Matt Carter in the Falcon-sponsored R32 with Stephen Biagioni in the Monster S13. Really up close and personal through that final turn. These conditions not phasing these drivers. These are, of course, the Super Pro class. We will see them run again. This time Steve will lead the way from Matt as they come down 3rd, 4th gear, even in these conditions, and the drivers both very, very equal as they come round Seat Curve. You can see the cars are almost like they're on tiptoes. Both drivers using almost identical line. You can see Steve there using the handbrake to lock up the back of that car to slow down enough to get round Scotsman's. And Stephen Biagioni goes through to the final. 3rd and 4th place runoff once again in car with David Waterworth following Matt Carter in the Falcon R32 as they go over Seat Curve. You can see the clipping point all on the inside of the corner. David Waterworth using that car beautifully behind Matt Carter there, nice and close, and he is very, very close. One of the closest battles we've seen during these finals, and we will see them run the other way this time. David will lead the way from Matt as they go from the drag cone flat out into this first corner, irrelevant of the conditions. And you can see there Matt trying to get as close as he can while using the judge line, and Matt Carter with a huge amount of angle through that bottom corner. And as they go through that final section, David Waterworth was judged to have had a big enough advantage over the two runs and takes 3rd place. On to the big one then, as the weather conditions improve slightly for the Super Pro final. Martin Batty against Stephen Biagioni, and they enter that first corner with Steve in the lead on this first run, hitting the clipping points perfectly. But then again, so is Martin Batty in the R35 powered S15. Stephen there working like mad on that handbrake, trying to keep that car on the perfect line which the judges have asked for. Just running his wheel up on the curb there, getting very, very close to the edge of the track. So we see them run in the alternative positions with Martin Batty leading Steve into that first corner. You can see Martin initiating just fractionally early, but Steve perfect on that clipping point on the inside. Steve again perfect on the inside of the clip, and Martin Batty just keeping in front of Steve there through that final section. And the judges couldn't split the two drivers over the two runs, and the drivers will head back to the start line to run one more time. So we'll see these two run again as the sun starts to shine on this Super Pro final. So we see them with the start line marshal, and Steve off in front of Martin Batty down the start line, and third gear, fourth gear, initiation with the handbrake. Martin Batty using a bit of weight transfer just to get the back of that S15 sideways. Stephen Biagioni there just clipping the inside corner. Martin Batty using the perfect line, and you can see the drivers running absolutely on the limit, and a very, very close to an off-track excursion there for Steve. We'll have to see what the judges made of that one. So back to the second of the runs with Martin Batty leading this time from Stephen Biagioni. Malks there on the start line setting the drivers off. Steve into second, then they'll snatch third into fourth gear, absolutely flat out into this first corner before they initiate. No braking whatsoever, just throwing the car sideways to slow the cars down, and they initiate into the second of the corners, and both drivers very, very equally matched, and Steve there using plenty of lock on that S13 behind Martin as they go out of Scotsman's, and we wait to see what the judges have to say. And you see Martin Batty takes the win from Stephen Biagioni, from David Waterworth and Matt Carter. So we will see Martin Batty in the Super Pro class from now on after taking that win. And the crowd applaud the drivers on the podium there. We see Martin and Steve shaking hands, and David Waterworth to the right. The championship standings then. Team Japspeed, Shane O'Sullivan now leads the way from Matt Carter, Jack Shanahan and Stephen Biagioni in fourth place.
I don't know whether it's fluke or luck, but I'm staying.
To see if Martin can win again, get yourself to Teesside Autodrome on the 19th and 20th of July for round 3 of the championship. So the Constructors' Championship looked like this. Slide Motorsport with a healthy lead over Drift Street Imports, Team Falcon, and then Team Japspeed in fourth.
A great yet unpredictable day here at Knockhill, with the weather staying dry for the semi-pros and the pros, and then as soon as the Super Pros came out, it started coming down, making it really hard for the Super Pro drivers, didn't it?
Oh my god, yeah, it's just typical. Semi-pros and pros, awesome day, loads of smoke, full dedication, maximum attack. And then obviously, as soon as we get into the Super Pro top 16, heaven's open, dare I say it, typical Scottish weather, but there you go. But I'll tell you what, the Super Pros are absolutely on it, even in these conditions. That's why you can see that they are the Super Pro drivers. Awesome driving from all three classes this weekend, but that's all we've got time for.
So in the meantime, go hard or go home.